Hello everyone. This is the seventh part of the story, Avatar in DC Universe. Chapter 22, The Fog Final Part. Aden's Point of View. Ever wonder how someone wakes up one day and just decides to be a modern take on a character from Peter Pan? I wondered aloud while floating around the air. Artemis weaved around the hook attacks while occasionally shooting out trick arrows. No clue. Maybe it's a cry for help. I chuckled while keeping watch. It wouldn't do for someone else to slip past us while we were occupied by. Hey, what's his name, by the way? I casually asked as the metallic hook whizzed by my face. I clutched the chain and pulled the guy to me. His eyes widened and my fist impacted the hasty one-hand block from his left arm. The bone snapped with an audible sound and he winced in pain, landing on the ground painfully. He tried to rise up, but Artemis shot a few arrows around him that exploded with the force of a flash grenade, momentarily dazing him. She stepped closer and threw a roundhouse kick, sending him to dreamland. Artemis went towards the unconscious mercenary and hefted the huge hook while smiling at me. My mouth opened. No way. His name is Hook. That's like the most unoriginal name I've ever heard. Maelstrom, we need that backup now. Aqualad informed us. I looked at Artemis and she waved me off. I'll tie him up, go. My body turned and shot off towards the school building. I crashed through the skylight of the class and blocked the shurikens aimed at Dr. Rocket. They bounced to the side and I stepped in closer to a woman wearing a white creepy mask. Underneath her green costume, she had curves for days and was packing some dangerous weapons. I caught a glimpse of some kunai and knives strapped to her thighs when she flipped behind chairs for a modicum of cover. Aqualad was on the floor kneeling with one leg while breathing heavily. His water bearers were held loosely in his hands. I frowned at Aqualad's condition, which was probably due to the poison on Cheshire's weapons. The only thing I didn't expect was the many passed-out shadows inside the room. I frowned. This wasn't canon. In the original timeline, they had only been attacked by 3 villains. Could this be a butterfly effect due to my interference? Aqualad, are you hurt anywhere? I asked him through the link, while watching Cheshire carefully. The doctor and I are fine. Just be careful not to get pierced by any of their weapons. Especially hers. Miss M, Kid Flash, how are things on your end? There are way more shadows than we expected. We are currently occupied at the gym. Miss Martian told me through the link. Maelstrom, you need to take the doctor and go. I'll provide you with cover. I thought it through. I can carry you both. No one is getting left behind. Kid Flash and I have the gym secured. If you can get here, we can regroup and come up with a plan. Miss Martian informed us. Well, and who might you be? Cheshire Cat brandished her sai at me, while stalking around us. I blinked and the whole room was swarmed with over a dozen more figures dressed fully in black. You promised you would protect me. Rocket was shaking when she said this. Stay behind me, doctor. Artemis, I need you here. Coming. Nice, get up. I have a question though, what's with the creepy mask? If you ask me, it makes you less approachable. The assassins were patient, seemingly waiting for the signal from Cheshire. Ah. And I thought it was the best thing about me. I smirked. If you're going for the intimidating factor, sure. Personally, I'd like to see if your face matches your voice. Irresistible. Oh my, are you sure you should be flirting with the enemy? She asked me while twirling her sai. Not really, but I won't tell if you won't. I'm in position above you. We need cover to relocate the doctor somewhere else. Okay. In one. Step aside then. I'd hate to ruin that perfect jawline. She crooned. Sorry, beautiful. Some other time. Arrows dug themselves around us and I grabbed a hold of Aqualad and Dr. Rocket. The woman screamed in alarm as I flew us out through the skylight I'd broken through earlier. Artemis drew a few more arrows and let them loose inside the classroom and then followed after us on the rooftop while I flew away to another section of the building. I held Rocket in my arms while Aqualad was floating beside me inside the bubble of air I had constructed to carry him. Miss Martian, where is the gym located? On your left. She answered and I changed my course. I looked back at Artemis and saw her running in our previous direction. She stopped a few times and shot arrows towards the shadows pursuing us. I'm gonna lead them away from you. They can't see you in the dark properly while you're in the air. She explained. That's a good idea. Hopefully by the time they realize it, we will be far away. I replied. Slight problem. Even if you bring Dr. Rocket here, she won't have access to a computer to finish creating the virus. Kid voiced something we had overlooked. Don't worry, I have a plan. We listened to Miss Martian's plan and I remembered it as surprisingly the same plan that they had come up with in canon. Basically, Miss M changed her appearance to match Rocket, while Aqualad and Kid Flash acted as guards. Meanwhile, I flew Rocket towards a cyber cafe in town to complete uploading the virus. 20 minutes later, I was standing guard in front of Rocket as she hurried to finish the job. She breathed out a sigh of relief and smiled at me. It's done. My fingers went to my earpiece. Maelstrom to Robin, do you copy? The virus is ready. Robin's voice came out hurried and urgent. Right on time. The fog is going for Wayne Industries. If they copy the information from their servers, it's going to be bad. His voice cut off. I'm going for the one controlling the fog. How many teeth should he be missing? I chuckled at Superboy's statement. Aqualad, did you get all of that? Yes, but be careful. The assassin in the white mask is probably headed your way. Artemis is in pursuit. I sighed and turned to Rocket. Stay behind me, Doctor. Seems like it's not over. What? But I finished the virus. They have no reason to kill me now. She started panicking. Hey, I held her shoulders. We promised to protect you. That hasn't changed. How touching. My hands shot out to hit the projectiles heading towards us out of the air. I waved a hand and a gust of wind threw back the second volley of shuriken. Relentless, aren't you? I commented. Cheshire lowered her body into a ready stance. I could say the same thing. But that's about to end. Rocket is mine. It's too late. You were instructed to kill her to stop the fog from being rendered inert. It's already done. That means your mission has failed. Cheshire looked unsure. I don't believe you. I turned the monitor around and showed her the screen displaying a successful upload. Well, I'll be damned. It's not often I fail. Well played. She trailed off, wanting to know my name. Call me Maelstrom. She cocked her hip to the side. Maelstrom, huh? Cool name. Fits you perfectly. I held up her hand before she could introduce herself. A small smirk appeared on my face. No need. I'll find that out for myself during the interrogation. Instantly, she went on guard. Though from a lesser discernible eye, her body posture remained loose and relaxed. Confident you can take me down? I thought you were smart. I chuckled. Trust me, I'm not the dumb one here. You followed me alone. She sighed. Why are the cute ones so egotistical? Cheshire leaped over the table and palmed her kunai. They left her hands and cut through the air with impeccable accuracy. 4 were aimed at my vital areas and 2 shot towards Rocket. A tornado appeared before us and pushed everything away. Computers, chairs, and papers alike. I grabbed Rocket and pulled her to my back away from the shurikens that dug themselves on the wall behind her. I said, behind me, Doctor. Not beside. A monitor was kicked at me and I swiped it away, sending it to smash through the glass door of the cafe. Cheshire had used that brief cover to pull in close to me. I lifted my leg off the ground, evading the leg sweep. She spinned around and threw one of her sayas at me. I grabbed it out of the air and returned the favor, sending it back at her. She quickly ducked by leaning her body backwards. The sai passed above her, curving a line across her mask and detaching it from her face. Then the sai planted itself on the wall behind her, digging in deeply into the bricks. Cheshire extended her body back completely and transitioned into a flip. Her eyes widened when she found me so close to her. My fist shot out before she could respond and landed on her left hand. 5 more hits to her chi points and Cheshire slumped against me with zero control of her limbs. Oh my God! Did you kill her? Raquette came up from behind me and asked. Cheshire glared at me as I removed zip ties from my utility belt and fastened them on her wrists and ankles. How is she going to walk like that? She's not. I lifted Cheshire and held her close to me. Showing sympathy for the enemy doctor? You do know she tried to kill you a minute ago. Raquette started stammering upon my question. Still. That's not ethical, putting a girl in such a position. I sighed. I'm an advocate for gender equality. Now stay here. I need to go out and look around to make sure none of those other assassins are headed towards us. She made to talk, but I interrupted her. And yes, Doctor. I'm taking the deadly assassin with me. I opened the door to the cyber cafe and walked outside. Just as I'd expected, Artemis was waiting outside looking unsure. Hey! Where are the others? They're yet to arrive. I left them rounding up the assassins at the school. Cool. I caught this one and the virus upload was successful, so the mission is complete. I stated, and just to make her even more desperate. Can you imagine how much we can learn from her about the League of Shadows? Artemis made contact with Cheshire's eyes and Cheshire smiled knowingly. Artemis drew her bow. I can't let you take her in. She told me with her hands shaking. I tightened the hold on Cheshire and got into a ready stance. What do you mean by that, Artemis? She closed her eyes. Please, Maelstrom. I'll explain it later, but you have to let her go. We faced off for a few seconds before I sighed and removed the zip ties from Cheshire's wrist and ankles. Luckily, I had anticipated all this and the hits I had landed on her were not that hard, so after 5 minutes, she now had enough control of her limbs to move about. Cheshire got up and stretched, then she caressed my jaw with a smile on her face. You really did a number on me, darling. Don't. Artemis told her with a hard tone. Spoilsport. Cheshire muttered, blew me a kiss and escaped into the darkness. I turned around and started walking away. Wait. Artemis called out. Thank you. I owe you one. I nodded solemnly and continued inside the cafe. On my face, there was a small smile. Chapter 23, Tension and the Talk. Aden's point of view. Where is the girl? Was Raquette's first question when I entered the cafe once again. Oh, you mean the assassin that was hired to kill you, failed once and just kept on trying? That girl? I shot back, looking at her weirdly. Yes. What did you do with her? I rolled my eyes. She escaped. Some of the other masked ninjas attacked us and during the commotion she slipped her bonds and ran away. The one who answered was Artemis, following me in. Raquette looked skeptical. She adjusted her glasses while watching us with narrowed eyes. Really? But I didn't hear anything. They're ninjas. Their whole deal is being unseen and unheard. Look, Doctor, I think your priorities need some reevaluating. I mean, I gestured at her. You survived an assassination from the League of Shadows. That's bragging rights in some circles. He's right. You held up pretty well, Doctor. And the good thing is that the Shadows don't have a reason to come after you now. Plus, the Justice League will put surveillance on you for a certain amount of time to ensure you don't get attacked. Artemis followed up, trying to appease the doctor while also subtly changing the subject from the Cheshire thing. All in all, it's over. Rocket breathed out a sigh of relief and looked at us in gratitude. Thank you so much. I won't lie, since Red Arrow put me under your protection, I wasn't confident on seeing the next day. But you guys are pretty good. Almost as good as the Justice League. I smiled at the praise. Thank you. Heard that Artemis were practically as good as the League. I didn't say that. I said almost. The teen drama takes away a few points. Artemis laughed as I glared playfully at Rocket. Why'd you have to ruin it? The door to the cyber cafe opened and the rest of the team walked in, barring Robin and Superboy. Wally glared at me, which killed my mood and brought back some of the same frustration from earlier. What happened? Aqualad spoke up. Artemis and I looked at each other and she stepped forward to update them on the Cheshire thing. You let her get away? Wally shouted at us. I crossed my hands on my chest. What are you talking about? I know you, there is no way she could have just escaped you like that. He came up to me and poked his finger on my chest. I was momentarily surprised at the unintentional praise. Still, I didn't like the way Kid Flash was pressing my buttons. My priority was on making sure Rocket was safe. Everything else came second. He frowned. Kid, that's enough. Dr. Rocket is safe, which is the only thing that matters. Aqualad came between us. Teen drama. Yuck. Rocket muttered while shivering in distaste. Hello Megan, Superboy and Robin just arrived with the bio ship. Miss Martian said happily and left the room. Everyone else cleared out, leaving Kid Flash, Aqualad and I a bit behind. Calder, we need to talk. I agree. The stoic teenager nodded. Let's do it after we arrive. Fine by me. I followed them out, got on the bio ship and we all flew off. An hour later, after handing over Rocket to a League affiliate, I found myself standing before the 3 veteran sidekicks on the team. I looked at the others. Superboy, Gan and Artemis were no doubt on my side, but I didn't want their help in solving this small group squabble. Guys, could you excuse us for a bit? Aqualad asked them and I nodded after they looked at me for confirmation. I don't like this. It feels like you're all ganging up on Aden for no reason. Connor told them while leaving. We'll be right outside if you need us. Mgan added and followed after Connor. Artemis looked at me and nodded. Thick tension permeated the room after they had left. I removed my visor and set it aside on the table as we all sat down. This can't go on. I started, holding up a hand to stop Wally's words. If you're expecting me to apologize for the things I said to Red Arrow, you're out of luck. You embarrassed Speedy in front of everyone. Wally jumped up in fury. He's not a child, Wally. He can stand up for himself, why are you fighting his battles for him? I asked him, frowning at the younger boy. Because, it's always been a dream of ours to join the League together and we have all worked so hard to make that happen. Aqualad answered. You don't know this because you just arrived recently, but getting to the point where our mentors trusted us enough to watch their backs and save civilian lives has not been easy. Robin's hands tightened into fists as he leaned forward on the table separating us. He picked up from Aqualad. You couldn't hope to understand our frustration. Imagine someone building up your hope for months on end, so you prepare yourself, polish your skills until bruises and blisters are a common thing every night you go to bed, and when the day arrives, bam. Nothing changes. Speedy was even more dedicated than the rest of us. I know you think that we just let him walk over us, but you're wrong. Kid Flash stood up in anger. You judged him without even knowing him. How many times have you been in a room with or even interacted with Speedy for you to form such a harsh opinion about him? Frankly speaking, you are a newbie. He's better than you in every way possible, and if it came down to the two of you, I think you know who our first choice would be. Kid Flash spit out at my face. My mind was instantly assaulted with red-hot anger. This little shit. Wally. That's enough. Calder banged the table with his fist, leaving a dent in it as he addressed the speedster. You went too far. Maelstrom is still an integral part of this team and I will not let you ruin that. We are here to settle the disagreement from earlier, not to put him on trial. Even Robin looked shocked at Wally's words. Dude, that wasn't cool. Wally looked away while grinding his teeth. I breathed in to calm myself down and realized something. I wasn't right, but neither were they. Maybe calling out Red Arrow in front of everybody was the wrong thing to do, but the words I said to him weren't. I understood inconvenience and that familiar hope that turns into disappointment more than most, because that is what my background was like. So I might have jumped the gun and pegged Red Arrow the same as me and how I used to lash out in the past. I haven't had an easy life and that's all I'm going to say about it. I sighed, the anger slipping off my face as I turned to them, earnest. Sometimes things don't work out and for a long while you're left feeling bitter at the world, which causes you to lash out on everybody and everything. The people closest to you get the blunt of it. No one interrupted me as I continued. When you're in a dark place, you try your best to pull yourself out from that hole, because if you don't, it just gets deeper and deeper until one day, you wake up and find that all that bitterness and anger has changed you. I thought I was standing up for you guys. Standing up for the team against a bully. I thought I was trying to help knock some sense into Speedy because I can relate to that. Wait, what do you mean by that? Wally demanded. I clenched my jaw and debated on my next words. Things haven't been easy for me, but I am trying my best to handle my shit the right way. The healthy way. By acknowledging that the situation sucks but also understanding that the bad things won't last forever. That is what I was hoping to convince Speedy of. Robin had a suspicious look on his face while Wally looked like he didn't know what to say. Is everything okay, Maelstrom? Aqualad questioned with a little compassion. Don't worry. I have secrets that I am not ready to share yet, and that's besides the point. I just need you to know that anything I said wasn't out of malice. But I am not sorry for my words. Kid Flash looked ready to blow up again, but I motioned for him to wait. What I can apologize for, however, is for making you three feel bad. Aqualad nodded. It's a start. I apologize too for us putting you on the spot like that. Especially during the mission. We all clearly knew who he was referring to. That sort of behavior could have compromised the whole thing. Robin smirked. I don't have anything to say sorry for because I was a professional throughout the mission. Dude, I saw you throw him dirty looks at least twice. Wally butted in. Much to Robin's annoyance. I wasn't the one talking bad about him. Last time I checked, that was you, Wallman. He said the last part derisively. Aqualad and I chuckled despite the mood. Things settled down and it was Wally's turn. The mad expression on his face had slipped off by then. He looked contemplative and unsure. His eyes never made contact with mine as he got up. I am sorry for saying all that awful stuff. They weren't true, just wanted to make you feel bad. He made to leave the room. Wally. I called out to him. He looked back at me. It's okay. We're good. He smiled and made a thumbs up. The rest got up and left after a few fist bumps, leaving me alone in the room with my thoughts. So far I could say without a shadow of doubt, being in a team wasn't easy. Just as Raquette said, the drama was off-putting and unwelcome. But sticking around was beneficial to me for now. My dream was to be the greatest hero this world had seen, to change things for the better. That meant I needed the experience of working and learning tricks and trades from those who are more experienced before planning my next move. The one thing I promised myself while sitting in that room all alone was that the next team I would be in would have no drama and, most importantly, would be under me. Chapter 24, Batman. Aden's point of view. Maelstrom, I need you in the hall, now. Batman's voice rang out through the whole gym from the PA system. Sweat was pouring down my skin in rivulets as I completed the set of crunches with a 50-ton weight dumbbell between my hands. Not even Batman was pulling me away from my gains. I had been at it for just an hour, having started early at 6 a.m. I completed the exercise and swiped a towel off the bench to wipe away the sweat. I didn't have time to actually take a shower without testing the Dark Knight's patience, so I left for the hall. On the hallway, I met up with Connor, who was coincidentally going to the gym as I left it. He smirked at me. "I feel like I should tell you, he doesn't look too happy." I scoffed. "Is he ever?" Connor laughed. "That's a good point. See you later." I nodded and headed towards the hall, thinking about what Batman wanted to see me for. Could it be because of the incident with Speedy? Did he want to reprimand me for my behavior? No, that didn't seem like something Batman would do. His policy was to always let the team solve its own issues. Then again, I was a wild card in his eyes. Maybe he didn't want me disrupting the peace or whatever. I arrived at the huge hall and my eyes were instantly pulled to the huge figure in all dark. Batman's costume never failed to impress me. It was bulky yet accentuated his fit physique and was intimidating. Very intimidating. Which I guess was the point. I cleared my throat while standing up straight behind him. He swiped the last of the file logs off the hologram projector and turned to me with a few documents in hand. "Sir," I said in greeting. "Maelstrom." He nodded at me. "First of all, I want you to know that the League is impressed with the work you and your teammate have put in on your missions. Furthermore, the information you supplied about the threats to look out for has helped the League to plan out better strategies for handling them." I was stunned at the praise. "Oh, thanks. It hasn't been easy, but I've learned a lot by being in this team, and it's all because you decided to give me a chance. So thank you too." The expression on his face didn't change, but I couldn't help but feel as if the air between us had grown more comfortable. "There's a reason I wanted to meet with you today," he started, his voice as monotonous as ever. I sighed, my fears becoming confirmed. I was familiar with the tactic he had used, give praise before following it up with a reprimand. So I spoke up first before he could. "Look, if it's about the issue from before, I talked with the rest about my behavior towards Red Arrow and we solved it. So no need for the tongue lashing." Batman narrowed his eyes. "I was going to say, I have processed your identification papers. All preparations have been made for you, Connor and Gan, to join Happy Harbor High School. You will be starting soon," Batman concluded. Oh. I was embarrassed at jumping to conclusions. Of course Batman wouldn't care. I mean, he would, but as long as our arguments did not disrupt the team's concentration during training or missions, he would rather leave it to us to work it out amongst ourselves. "In addition, I have thought about your proposal to pursue your hobbies," he told me, referring to the writing thing. "The answer is yes, but I will vet any material you wish to produce before you post it out to the world." His tone turned harsher. "All privileges will be revoked if you abuse this chance, Maelstrom. Don't disappoint me." I nodded in confirmation. I would still have done it even without his permission, but this way was better. He placed the documents on the table and addressed me. "That's all. You're dismissed." I gave him a curt nod and left while studying the documents. There was a birth certificate, passport, and everything else I needed to present in a legal format. I took the documents to my room, took a shower to get rid of the slight sweat, and started making music. I had roughly 20+ hit songs that I had managed to write down from my memory. The equipment I had was good enough for me to start my plans. All I needed was a good camera with the leftover money I had, and then I could begin recording myself while singing covers. Although this world's entertainment industry was different to my last, that was only in the case of different musicians and songs. The styles were a bit similar yet with a different tonal flavor. To ingratiate myself into the scene, I decided to start slow by making covers to this world's best songs but with an exotic air to it. Settling on that plan, I used my laptop to window shop for great recording devices that weren't too expensive. The specs on some were crazy. Especially LexCorp stuff. Wayne Industries provided products that were good quality but aimed towards the common man, but LexCorp catered for the specialists. Meaning high-end stuff for people who had the money and need to purchase that equipment. Equipment that included micro cameras with a strong battery life and could store loads of footage, drones outfitted with surveillance tech that I'm not sure how Luther managed to get the government to allow out into the public, and lots more. I settled on a good camera that was a lot higher than my budget but was great for recording. The money I had on me was just $100, having spent the rest on a few other, important stuff. Basically, I needed my laptop to be secure from tampering with, so I had upgraded its security measures by installing the best antivirus and anti-spyware software I could afford. LexCorp stuff still turned out to be the best. I had the idea to ask Robin for help, but that would give the impression I had something to hide. Which I did. And one of the boy wonder's weaknesses or strengths, depending on the situation, was trying his best to dig for information. For now, I was content with whatever modicum of security my laptop had. I had plans for some under-the-table high-specs upgrading once I got the money for it. One might wonder why I was so concerned with ensuring privacy. Easy, I needed to contact some interesting characters who would be able to analyze the vial of cobra venom I had to see if a stronger version of the same serum could be made. That was far off into the future, however. I had no doubt I would need the power, especially with the threat the light presented. Unfortunately, that meant tippy-toeing and hiding my actions from the Justice League and the rest of the team. Luckily, I now had a viable reason for Batman to ease off my back whenever I decided to travel out of town. I'd just give him a spiel about music or something and I would be golden. Not really. Batman was a bad case of suspicion coupled with constant vigilance. I was sure he wouldn't lessen his watch on me, but that was good too. I was expecting it, which meant I could control what he could more or less see. That was one of the reasons I had pushed really hard to get his approval in following my hobbies and talents. I love music and writing, that much is true, but that would come second to heroing, and to do that, I needed a life outside the cave to set the foundation for what I wanted to achieve. Money for my projects and fame for protection through public adoration, which would make it easier to get contacts and provide a good cover for my extracurricular activities. It was all a rough draft, but something I was working towards. Which leaves me with looking for a way to earn money quickly again. All things considered, underground fights were still my go-to. Just spending less than 2 hours had netted me $5,000, how much more could I get if I was serious about it? A lot more, I'm sure. The problem is, I couldn't go to Gotham again. I was 100% sure that Batman would find me out this time. Before I had arrived at the hall for our meeting a half-hour ago, he had been going through the cave's file logs. Which meant, he must have seen my usage of the Zeta beam tube to go to Gotham. This time he didn't ask about it, but he would no doubt be keeping an eye on me. That left going to other cities. Luckily, I had the perfect idea. LA was a cultural hub for music and entertainment. Plus, Batman already knew that it was where I was from in my real Earth. I could use that excuse of reconnecting with my roots to hit some of the illegal underground fights there and make money. Happy with the plan, I left my room and flew towards the gym for some power training. I had unlocked the next sub-skill, which was sound. This just further showed me how my bending was different from the avatars. There wasn't sound bending from what I knew. Then again, I couldn't say I knew everything about Avatar. This just showed that I could even be wrong about the other element sub-skills. The most probable conclusion was that my avatar system was different from the power system of the Avatar world. Benders used their chi to manipulate the elements, and bending moves were essential to direct those same elements. However, my case was different. For starters, I didn't use my chi to bend. My whole body, essence, soul, and everything was connected with the avatar system, which acted as the medium to process energy from the bleed to allow me to bend. That was why, upon hitting master level in air bending, stances and moves that had been crucial before were now not needed. Secondly, the avatar had access to all the elements from the word go, even if they didn't have good control over them. My case was different. The system was built up on a leveling foundation, where I had to master an element first before unlocking another. Air element, master. Flight. Unlocked. Sound. Unlocked. So I only had to master the sound subskill, then get my air mastery to Grand Master level, and then I would have access to the next element. This marks the end of part 7 of the story, Avatar in DC Universe. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.